we were going to use data to make informed decision, the big question would be, why is there why this discrepancy? Why do we have 10 people at the beginning of Sabbath school, and then by the end of Sabbath school we are having 200 people in church? Could it be that is late? Are they just being late to church? Are there other factors that affect it? Could it be that 70% of the population of the church members do not live around the vicinity of the church? Maybe they have to travel from a long distance, and before they leave their houses to get to the church, it's already late. Could that be a factor? Could it be you look at the data and you say, okay, this particular Sabbath, maybe let's say on a music concert day, the on the music concert day, the attendance from the beginning of the Sabbath school is very high compared to other Sabbaths. And you're asking yourself, so people can come to church on music concert day this early, so why are they not coming to church like that on other days? These kinds of insights can help you make informed decisions and find out exactly why do people do what they do, and then proffer solutions to it. So that's just one example. Another example is when I was the secretary for one of my singing groups I belonged to, I came up with this Excel. I'll show you. Um, okay, so I don't know if you can see my screen. So this was an attendance tracker I used when I was the secretary of one of my singing groups I belonged to. It's just a very simple Excel sheet, but it can help give a lot of insights. So I removed the names of the members, of course, for the purpose of being anonymous. And then you have their parts for everybody who sang soprano, everybody who sang alto, tenor, bass, and then the organist. And then you could see this. If you are present in rehearsal, choir practice for that day, I tick you present. A drop down is you have present, you have absent, you have those who are late. So if you are present, it means you came early, so you will be present, and then there's a green box. If you're absent, is red, and then I tick absent for you. And if you are late, it will also, I'll tick late for you. And then permission, for those who are absent, did they take permission? Yes or no? Not applicable would be for those who are already present, because permission does not apply to them. And then I think the group leader had this rule of, if you miss rehearsals or if you come late, you pay a fine. So the fine is here, like this person now was absent, did not take permission, and so they have to pay a fine of 1,000 naira. And then towards the end, you can now have total individual fines. So this gives you can, if you take this record, say for a year, and this insight can help you know how attendance in choir rehearsals have been over the year. Have you just been having rehearsals and complaining of two? So when you analyze this data, you find out if attendance has been good or not, and if it has not been good, why has it not been good? Could it be that maybe weather affects it or different things, you know? So I have a case study that I would want us to discuss. So I have a case study that I would want us to discuss, and I would want us to take just a few minutes of our time to read through these problem statements. And after reading through it, we would discuss on how we can move from here using data. I'll just give us a few minutes to read through it.
Something is covering the page.
Okay. Oops.
Something is covering the page.
Okay, let me check what. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All
It's
right.
not readable.
It's not what?
It's better now.
Okay.
It's okay now.
All right.
Presenter, please, why don't you read so that we'll read along with you? Because some of us are using small devices to join, and it can appear quite small. So as we read along, just read from your end so that, please.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so there's a problem statement here. Your local church has recently established a data team to explore how information can be used to support different departments. In the past, most decisions were based on intuition and assumptions. So, however, after attending the Innovate, Inspire, and Engage training and taking courses, of course, online, the leadership has decided to take a more data-driven action. As a member of the newly formed data team in your church, you have been tasked with identifying key areas within the church where data can be applied to make more informed, evidence-based decisions that will enhance ministry, improve engagement, and support growth. Did we all get that?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is a problem. So this is a problem statement, right? Your church has always been, in the time past, they've always been making decisions. The church board has been making decisions based on intuition and assumptions. You're going for camp meeting because every year the camp meeting turnout is always very high. You prepare for a particular year, and after maybe 2 or 3 years, you notice that the camp meeting turnout is not as high as it used to be. It's beginning to decline. Meanwhile, you have gone to go and pay a bus driver that will carry the whole church. Maybe you've paid for 3 buses or 4 buses, and you now have only registration of people that will only enter one bus. And then maybe the money for 2 buses is wasted. You prepare food, and the food is more or less than what it should be. Think about different problems that can possibly occur in a church setting. And as a data analyst in your church, part of the data team, the church board has given you that responsibility to identify different areas that data can be used to support the board and department in making decisions. So put yourself in the shoes of a data analyst. What will you consider? And when you consider a particular problem, what is the data points you can get to be able to solve that problem? What I mean, for example, is if you want to find out about tithe and offering, for example, to be able to understand how the trends of tithe and offering has been for the past 10 years, and you have that data, what are the points you will consider when you want to solve a problem of tithe and offering decline? You would consider members in the church. You would consider if there have been transfer of memberships in and out. Maybe a lot of transfer of membership have gone out, or people have their memberships in church but do not worship in the church anymore, and so their tithe and offering goes to another church, but their records are in your church. And when you're giving reports that you have 1,500 members, but your tithe is not correlating with the tithe is not correlating with the number of members in the church, things like that. So I want this to be an interactive session. Let's think about any key area at all in any department and tell me practical steps as a data analyst in the making, or as someone who wants to use data analysis, or even as a stakeholder who is considering implementing data in your church. What are the practical steps you can take? What are the areas you can look at that data can support in church growth? I can't see everyone. In case there's a hand up, you can just unmute and speak. Okay, JC, I can see you, please.
Yes, let's look at the area of evangelism, for instance.
Okay.
I doubt if many churches take statistics of evangelistic activities over the years. And data could be very important. If, for instance, we do that, and over 10 years, you can say, okay, in 2000 and this, we conducted evangelism. How many souls did we win? Maybe if we're taking statistics, we can say after 3 months, how many of them were still in the church?
Still in the church.
After 6 months, how many of them were still in the church? After 1 year, how many of them were still in the church? You go to the next year. So you can use the data to compare to know if there is improvement in the strategies of membership retention, for instance. Because if you compare for the first year and discover that you won 500 persons from the evangelism you conducted, and at the end of the year, you only have 50 left, you will be forced to come up with strategies for membership retention. Now, in this second year, you also do the same thing, and then you will now compare this strategy we came up with. Did it pay off? If by the end of the second year, you are using your data, you discover that you now have 150 retention as against 50 in the previous year, it means there is improvement. Okay. So if you compare it over a period of 5-10 years, you will know whether there's actually progression or regression in the effort. So the data could be very, very important in this area and other areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You made a very, very important point that I was going to talk about. Yesterday, when I talked about the data lifecycle management, I talked about the acquisition phase of data. Now, if you are an organization that does not keep proper statistics and proper records of data, it's going to be very difficult for you in the first place to begin to implement data strategies, because for you to implement data strategies, you have to have the figures, you have to have the statistics, and the statistics have to be accurate, because if they are not accurate, you would be analyzing and getting results, but those results are not the true picture of what it should be. So one major step for our churches today, church leaders who are here, church clerks who are here, church board members who are here, is before you even begin to talk of using data strategies, ask yourself a very important question. Do I have the data necessary to make these informed decisions? If yes, beautiful, you can go ahead. If no, then the first step would be to create a robust system that you would, proper record keeping and management of every aspect of the church, bringing it into one, bringing it into one database. If you understand what I mean. When I mean database, I mean like a house of where you store data. Like yesterday, I talked about on-premise and cloud storage. So of course, cloud storage works very well, bringing in all this information into one database and one storage, where over the period of 1, 2, 3 years, by the time you continue to take records and take records and take records, gradually you begin to gather the kinds of data or the amount of data that you would need to make an informed decision. So AS Queen, I can see your hand up, please. AS Queen, your hand is up.
Thank you
can
very
speak.
much. Yes, I'm speaking. I also want to say that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can we hear me? Okay. I also want to say that membership validation is another way that we can cope problems. Because most times, from year to year, we have a redundancy. We don't even check our membership. We don't even check dead members, people that's relocated, people that's taking their membership transfer. The Sabbath school department, everything will be lump sum in a place. And we found out that each year, even when members are dead, we don't take cognizance, we don't remove dead members. We add it to the church membership and increase it. Even when the tithes are not adequate, we still count our dead members from year to year. And when we sit and we look at all these things, it will help us to cope a lot of problems in our churches, because when membership are out, we don't send them out. Some persons might be out of our church for like 10 years. Their membership might still be in church. Somebody might be there, somebody has relocated, is not even paying tithe, the membership will be there. So evangelism, we come, we baptize member, we add to the ones that are there, we don't check. So by doing that, having a column for dead members, membership retained, or calling a list, having a meeting with them, knowing where they are, if they are not ready to be part of the church, I think that will help too in solving this problem in our database. Thank you.
So let me ask a question. So what do you think is the best solution for this? Assuming a church uses paper to always, the church clerk is a paper person, you're always using paper. How do you think, if they want to begin to implement data solution, what is one of the easiest ways they can begin to take to, put those records in a more presentable way, if I may ask?
Okay, the way they will do it, if they have past records that are lost, they can start from the end, the premise, like the end. They can start from where they are now and start having the names of the members. Then, is it not what you're asking? Can you ask the question again? Maybe I didn't get it
So
right.
where would you begin to record in the simplest form? Let's say for a beginner, the church clerk has always been using paper. They use paper book, as in this notebook, 100, and now they want to begin to look at how they can really take statistics and data very seriously. What is the easiest way that they can begin to record that data?
Okay, the easiest way is, I think they can record it on Access.
Hello, are you with me?
Excel.
Perfect.
The spreadsheet, yes. A spreadsheet in Excel. I think that's perfectly.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted. So for beginners, as we are beginning the transition, you cannot just transition from paper to something very robust and big. It starts from a gradual process. So you can begin to learn something as simple as Excel, like I mentioned yesterday, spreadsheet, working with spreadsheets, putting these records on spreadsheets daily and every Sabbath, and as the case may be. Who has a hand? Somebody wanted to say something. Okay. Oyendi, your hand is up. Oyendi Charles.
Yeah, good evening. My interest that I want to contribute is based on the way we keep records of our members, mostly who are non-Seventh-day Adventists. Every day we keep, every Sabbath we have non-Seventh-day Adventists in our midst, and we go about take their data. What's the follow-up? Who follows them up? how do you, get their data in check so that from time to time you talk to them, know their response, and over time you get to know what actually brings them to church and what part of our worship engaged them most. At least you get to know what entices them in our worships. I think from there we can also get a way of reaching out to them through our maybe personal ministry, chaplaincy, to also talk to them. And from there, we reduce even the cost we spend in evangelism somehow, because we have already done a background work from the members we get from church.
Okay. All right. So we've really said a lot, and they are all very valid points. Now, after considering and discussing all these things, after reviewing several areas where data could support the church, the board has agreed that the most pressing issue to begin with is attendance pattern. They have observed that on Sabbaths, the church is filled to capacity. On some Sabbaths, the church is filled to capacity, while on others, the numbers are noticeably lower. The church board wants to better understand the factors that influence the fluctuations so they can make informed decisions that improve consistency, encourage member participation, and support overall church growth. Now, I'm going to share. Okay. Mr. Temple, you can drop these documents in the chat box for those who want to open it up, or for those who want to read side by side. So I asked ChatGPT this, for the records, the data that was used in this analysis I did is not a real church data. I prompted ChatGPT to give me a typical attendance for a Seventh-day Adventist church, and I'll show you the okay, so this record is the record that I got from ChatGPT. So it's a synthetic data. It's not a real data of any existing Seventh-day Adventist church. So this data simply has this data is for, we assume that this data is for the year 2024. And from our problem statement, the church board has said, okay, of all the existing problems that we have, let us focus on church attendance. We have noticed that some Sabbaths, the church attendance is low, and for some Sabbath, the church attendance is high. What could be influencing these factors? There could be different things influencing it. It could be maybe sanitation days, church attendance is low. On high Sabbaths where there are child dedications and all.
Is that a question?
No, it's not a question. I'm just speaking.
Oh.
Yes, church attendance is high and the rest. So for the purpose of this demo, just for you to understand how we can use data in church growth, this is the date, and this date is from January to December of 2024. This is the Sabbath type. And in this Sabbath type, what I basically did was, we have AWM Sabbath, we have Communion Sabbath, we have a music concert, normal worship, SOP, VOP, and a combined service. So these are the number of adults that attended the church for that Sabbath. This is the number of adult youths that attended the church for that Sabbath. The children, 167, the number of children that attended the church for that Sabbath. And for the purpose of this demo, let us note that the total church membership is 1,400 on the registered records. And then we have the total attendance for each Sabbath. Now we have the service duration, like how long does the service take, number of visitors in church for that Sabbath, and the offering collected. So this is the data that the Seventh-day Adventist Church in any location has been able to gather on Excel for 52 Sabbaths. And now you want to give a report to the church board who has asked you to see what the problem is with attendance. Okay, so 2024 Sabbath worship attendance at a glance, a report presented to the church board on the 21st of January 2025 by the Data and Insight team of the church. Now, I had to go this route because as a data analyst, your stakeholders are not interested in all the technical jargon that you did. If I have to show you the Excel sheet that I used to work on this analysis, it is very messy, it is very disorganized, it is very scattered. Of course, because it is my Excel sheet, I'm not sharing it with anybody. So I just had to do it the way, I just had to do what I had to do. But in a real situation, when the church board is seated and having a meeting, they're not interested in whether you used Excel to do the analysis. They're not interested in whether you used Python or SQL to do the analysis. Or even when you are working for an organization, your manager is not interested in what tool you use. They are interested in what are the figures saying, what is the statistics saying, how can we improve, what does this mean, what does that mean? So when you're doing a presentation, you have to be you have to convert the technical jargon into a non-technical, understandable report that the people you are presenting to can understand. And that is one major skill, like I talked about yesterday, communication skills that you have to have as a data analyst and an aspiring data analyst is effective communication. You should be able to communicate all your technical jargon in very simple terms to your stakeholders. So the introduction, you give an introduction. In a real world setting, this report will be printed, for example, for some organizations. If you're going to have to use it in an organization, it might be sent as emails to all the stakeholders. If it is to the church board, for a church that is already advancing in technology, you could send this document, password the document so that only members of the church board have access to it, password it, and then send it as an email. And then maybe you do a presentation slide of the key findings. So the introduction, this report presents findings from our analysis of 2024 church attendance record. The goal, the goal was to identify attendance patterns, understanding demographic engagement, and enlightening factors influencing fluctuations in attendance. These insights can support the board in making informed data-driven decisions to improve participation and church growth. Now, data overview, scope of the analysis. We analyzed the Sabbath attendance data from January to December 2024. So you're giving a report now to the church board based on the analysis of the data I showed you earlier that you have done. The data set includes attendance by adults, youths, and children, as well as Sabbath types. For example, normal worship. Normal worship is a worship that no special thing happened. It was just a normal worship. People came to church and they left. Youth day, communion, music concert, AWM Sabbath, SOP, VOP, and combined service. This list is not exhaustive, of course. Depending on your church, you can tailor the Sabbath types. Now, the total registered membership for the records with the church clerk is 1,400. Out of that 1,400, 710 are adults, 410 are youths, and 280 are children. So now let's get in. The church membership in register. If you look at this data, what can this information tell us about the general representation of adults, youths, and children in the church? So anybody can just unmute and speak, please.
Okay, from your data, it's being shown that adults are more in church than the youth and the children.
Okay, is it adults are more in church? Look at the heading very well, church membership in the register.
Okay, we have more adults, more adults in the church than the youth and the children.
Perfect. So for this particular church, the case study now, we have 51% of the total church population they are adults, and then you have youth 29% and children 20%. So the combination of youth and children of course, are more than the adults. Now, going over overall attendance trend. Now, in 2024, there were 52 Sabbaths. Of course, 52 Sabbaths in a year. However, the church worshipped on 51 occasions. 51 occasions because if we go to our data, you will see a church, if I have to filter down to district combined worship. So this is district combined worship. And we are assuming that on this day, there was no worship in that particular church. Everybody went to the district headquarters. So you can see that attendance and everything is 0. This is just to paint a scenario. Okay. So let's go back. All right. So this is 2024 Sabbath worship attendance trend. If you look at this trend, we can see that on an average, there are about 695 members that attend church every Sabbath. And that accounts for just 49.6% of the total church membership. So where are the other almost 41%? Where are they? For a whole entire year, you just have only about 46.6% of the total membership worshiping in church every Sabbath. It means that there is a problem. That is one insight. Now, this spike that is here, for a technical term, is called an outlier. So an outlier is when you analyze your data and you see a particular data point that is just far away, like it's not in the same range with other data points. You can investigate why that spike is there. And of course, this spike is here because of because of the district combined service that we had, and there was no attendance. All right, so let's go on. Attendance by Sabbath worship type. So for the purpose of this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 different Sabbath worship type. Of course, we normally have MOD and other programs, but I just try to make it as simple as possible. So if we look at the data, we'll find out that for the whole year in 2024, we had normal worship 31 times. We had communion service 7 times. SOP VOP 4 times, Youth Day 3 times, AWM Sabbath 3 times, music concerts 3 times, and then district combined service once. So let's go further. Average attendance by Sabbath worship type. So this is looking at, this insight is trying to give us, we're trying to understand what is the average attendance for each Sabbath, like on a music concert day. What is the average attendance, on a music concert day? What is the average attendance on a Holy Communion day? Can somebody look into this data and tell me one interesting insight that we can get? Let me give you a clue. Look at the number of Sabbaths that we have. That normal worship is 31. There are 31 Sabbaths in 2024 that were normal worship. But look at the average attendance by Sabbath and look at where normal worship is, for example. If we look at it, we'll discover that on music concert day, the church is filled to the brim. Even though music concert has happened only 3 times in that church. Even though music concert has happened only 3 times in that church, we can see that from the average attendance by Sabbath worship, we are having music concerts topping the list by almost 68%. That is a clue. So although music concerts were held only 3 times in 2024, now when you're reporting, were held only 3 times in 2024, they recorded the highest average attendance rate at 65.4% of the total membership. This was followed by communion service and youth day worships, which also attracted strong participation. So this is an insight to the church board. You are having concerts only 3 times in a year, but the total attendance for music concert is high, but look at your normal worship. Normal worship is just 48.3 of the total membership. There is a problem. That is an insight. Now, let's look at the visitors and outreach impact, assuming you want to look at which of these Sabbaths do we have more visitors. That is an avenue where the church can plan properly to make sure that, if there are any outreach ideas and all, they can implement it on those days. So if we look at this graph, can someone briefly explain to me what insight we can get from this visitors graph or visitors data? You can just unmute and speak, please.
Okay.
Okay, so
yeah, who was talking, please?
okay, so
okay,
from the graph, we see that on the days where we have music concerts, we have more visitors. And then next to the communion service, and then the youth day, followed by the AWM Sabbath, and then last the SOPVOP Sabbath.
Okay,
so
perfect.
we could actually use those and launch those ideas on the music concert day.
Good. Thank you very much. That is a perfect insight. So if you were a church board member and you were seeing or a church pastor and you're seeing these statistics, that's an avenue for evangelism. If you have up to 65 persons, 55 visitors on music concert days, then you can as well find a way to discuss with the music department and see how you can infuse outreach programs, or I don't know, but just think of something that can blend into a music concert. People will enjoy the music, but you are still reaching out to visitors that are in the church. And if you notice the way I presented the graph, I highlighted the highest and the lowest. Look at SOPVOP Sabbath, when we are supposed to be studying about E.G. White's writings, studying about our books and all, and we're having 7 visitors. So what can we do? You think about it. So going forward, our analysis shows that every Sabbath, when you want to present it now in an official way, and our analysis shows that every Sabbath had at least 5 to 8 visitors in attendance. Music concerts, though held only 3 times in the year, attracted the highest number of visitors on average, making them highly effective outreach events. Communion service also drew a higher than usual visitor turnout. In contrast, normal worship, despite occurring 31 times and being the most frequent Sabbath type, averaged only about 10 visitors per service. So there's something about this church normal worship that is not attracting visitors, and probably they need to look into it. Now, if we want to understand the impact of attendance on offerings, meanwhile, I forgot to mention earlier, depending on the problem you're trying to solve, you have different kinds of graphs that you use to solve. Not one graph can be used to solve every kind of problem. For example, if you want to find out something over a period of time, use a line graph. So this particular graph in this case is a scattered plot graph. And this scattered plot graph is simply trying to find the correlation between attendance and offering. Let us understand, when attendance is high, is offering also high? And of course, the graph says that, the insight says that, we can see the red line, the trend. It is directly proportional. As attendance increases, our offerings for the church also increases. So you might want to consider making sure that a lot of people are in church. Or if the reverse was the case, you can now think, how can, maybe if there are members that join online for worship, how can we also make sure that these members are able to conveniently return their tithe and offering without necessarily having to be physical in church? Now, if we look at average offering by Sabbath type, now let's understand which of the Sabbaths are influencing this increase. We can see again, music concerts, but there's a twist. AWM Sabbath, women like money, so they will always, gather a lot of money during their Sabbath, and then Holy Communion. But look at the normal worship. there's not a lot of offering coming in. In fact, normal worship is the last. Like, it has the least amount of offering coming in. Why? The church board can look into that. What could be the cause? So in 2024, the total offerings collected amounted to 9,533,563. Now, this is the total amount of offering collected in 2024. However, the data shows a clear relationship between attendance and giving. The higher the attendance on a Sabbath, the greater the offering collected. When we examine offerings by Sabbath type, we see that music concert, AWM Sabbath, and communion services recorded the highest average. By contrast, normal worship, though the most frequent again, generated the lowest average offering per service. So that is already an indication that there is a problem if people do not give during normal worship and then music concert is high. So attendance by demographics. Now let's understand the youth department, the adults, the children, and the youth in church. Which people attend which services more? Look at the SOP VOP on this data. You see that there's a very low turnout of the church in general. So church members appear not to be interested in SOP VOP Sabbath. Now, how can the church make SOP VOP Sabbath or SOP VOP program attractive? The way that people turn up for music concert, there has to be something that can be done. There has to be a strategy that can be put in place to make SOP VOP Sabbath attractive so that members can attend and there can be an increased, attendance, including attendance of visitors. So what is the implication for the church? I've already mentioned that. I won't go through that again. Now, as a data analyst who have given this report to the church, you now want to give a recommendation to the church board. And you're recommending to the church board that they can develop strategies to maintain high engagements seen in special Sabbaths like music concerts. What are they doing differently in that music concert? What are some of the strategies you can pull up from music concert and imbibe it into the normal church worship, imbibe it into SOP VOP Sabbath to be able to get the same result you get on a music concert day? Introduce elements from music concerts or youth days into regular Sabbaths. Create initiatives that increase youth attendance on SOP VOP Sabbath. Continue collecting and analyzing data regularly to track progress. And our normal Sabbath worship needs to be improved on. So you've given this recommendation to the board. It's left for the board now to act on those recommendations. If you remember what I talked about yesterday, the data life cycle, there's the point where we get to, and after using the data, we now talk of the action, the insights. You've given the insights. So now the board, how can you now implement these recommendations to be able to help the church grow? So can you think of any more recommendations based on what we have discussed? Can you think of any more recommendations that can, based on the data that we are working with, that can support or give more insights into what the church board can consider improving on? This is a question now.
Yes, good evening all.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Jumbo Destiny Chigre from Aba East here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in improving or enhancing the normal Sabbath worship, I think more time should be devoted and singing and praises.
Okay.
Since from our information, our data here, we see that the music concert Sabbath attracted more people and more offerings. So we can, as a church, improve the duration of singing and praises. It will help to build the membership of the church if it's not done that way. That is one strategy I think that can be employed to achieve that.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. Somebody's hand is up.
Okay. Just like in line with what the other man said, it should be an hour of, like in my church, we have hour of inspiration, like especially during Sabbath school. Like maybe it should be a 30 minutes program or like a 30 minutes program and what of inspiration.
Okay, I didn't really hear you clearly, but okay, all right. Okay, so just to this is just an analogy of how it can be used in the church. Now, for those who want to pursue careers in data analysis, this is also the same pattern, the same approach. You ask questions, you prepare the right data, you process it, you analyze it, you share, and then you act on that data. But when you do analysis and you don't act on it, it's as good as not doing anything. Now, tips to advance your data analytics career. I mentioned this yesterday, and I would like to emphasize on it as we close. I don't know if Samuel is here. I would like him to unmute his mic and tell us his experience with navigating into the data space and how continuous learning, building a portfolio, networking, having mentorship helped him. So Samuel, please, just in 3 minutes or 2 minutes, if you are here. Is Samuel here? Okay. Okay, he's not here. All right, so again, to buttress the point I made yesterday, when you want to go into the data space as a data professional, this now is away from the church setting. Continuous learning is very important. You would have to identify areas where you need to improve on. You have to identify areas where try to specialize. And when you identify where you want to specialize in, you continue to learn. Myself, like I mentioned before, this is my learning pool, and I just want to give an overview of what you can consider to further portray yesterday. So these are different pathways you can consider in the data space. You can become an associate data scientist in Python. You can become an associate data analyst in SQL. You can become a data analyst and just specialize in Power BI. You can become a data analyst and specialize in Python. And if you can see, these green bars here are courses that I started, and somehow it's like I've abandoned it, but of course I have the knowledge. You can become an associate data engineer. You can become a data engineer in Python. So the list is endless, as you can see on my screen. The list is endless. You have to consider what you want to go into. And in the process of considering what you want to go into, confusion always sets in. That was why I really wanted Sammy to speak, because he has first-hand experience of how reaching out to people and networking helped him succeed and gain the knowledge that he has so far. And soft skills and certifications, some of the certifications you can take are Microsoft certifications. There are certifications in data on Amazon. There are certifications from Google. There are certification in Python. So when you are applying for a job and you have these certifications on your CV, it improves your chances. And now I would like to say this and say this very well. Nigeria in the next 5, 4, 6, 7 years is going to have a massive demand for data professionals. Like I mentioned yesterday from a statistics, Nigeria is still in the developmental phase of adopting data for data-driven decisions in organizations and companies. And so where you are currently working, begin to think about how you can help your organization. For example, if you're working as a sales representative in a supermarket, already your supermarket has the data because there are people who come there and they pay with cash, you record it, they pay with their card, the system takes down the record. You can begin to analyze data to understand what are the peak periods of a particular item, what are the peak periods of a particular customer buying a particular item. That can help save your company from buying products that will stay on the shelf and expire. That can help your company, your organization, or your retail sales make sure that there's availability of a particular product that is in high demand, and to know when that product is in high demand. Some products are in high demand in certain periods or in certain seasons more than the other. So you can begin to think of ways that you can use data even in the small office that you're working, just as simple as anything, and it can help to improve your chances. Now, I mentioned yesterday that I was going to talk about where we can apply for jobs. Somebody asked that question yesterday. One place I usually would apply for job for data roles is on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you are missing out a lot, because that is where you connect with professionals. This is my LinkedIn account, and I have all my activities and everything, as per my career on this account. Now, if I search for jobs, let's say data analyst jobs in Nigeria. Okay, so okay, perfect. So this is all right. So these are, we can see data analyst and BI developer. Look at the list, it's endless. Data analyst roles, and the list continues and continues. These are organizations that are beginning to implement data strategies, and more will still come up. So one way to know what organizations are looking for example, you can click on a particular job and scroll down. This is what I do that helps me. Scroll down to the job and read the job description. Now, when you read the job description, it gives you an idea of what the field, what they are looking out for, and it can direct you on the kind of courses that you can take, the kind of certifications that you need, the kind of skills that you need, So by the time you are able to check up to 10, 12, 13 jobs, and you find out that there's a pattern, there's a trend. For example, every data job you search for, you see that they need skills in Python. Of course, you know that you have to learn Python. They need skills in Excel. Of course, you know you have to learn Excel. And then do not underestimate the power of mentorship. I'll always emphasize that mentorship. Me, even with my master's degree, I still have people that I look up to that have gone ahead of me, and I meet them when I'm confused, when I need direction, when I need advice on how to navigate, and I've not stopped learning. I am still learning. So for anyone who is starting out and you're thinking you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know how to begin, having a mentor helps you in the process of navigating. Now, LinkedIn is not the only place you can search for jobs. You can search for jobs on Google, you can search for jobs on Indeed, you can search for jobs. You can be in Nigeria and you are working for an organization abroad. You are earning in dollars, you're earning in pounds, but you are living in Nigeria. It's very possible, but you have to have the right skills, because the competition out there is massive, and positioning yourself for that competition, positioning yourself to succeed is what makes you go over and beyond to achieve your goals. So that would be all from my end. And I don't know if you have any questions. If you have any questions, please. The Temple, I don't know how long we have for questions, so you can please help coordinate, be able to manage the
Yeah,
time.
Thank you so much. I think that those that want to ask questions that can just raise their hands, we identify them so that we don't have a strong competition from those who want to make comment. Okay. Destiny Jumbo, you want to make a comment?
Yes. Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
You did mention the practical steps in data career. So I'm asking, what are the practical steps in data career?
Okay. The practical steps in data career. The first thing is this is from my experience. Everybody's experience is different. But from my experience, have an open mind to learn. Yesterday, I mentioned that the first time when I graduated from school, I knew that I wanted to go into tech, but I didn't know how to navigate and I did not know how to go about it. I started learning data analytics. I won't tell you lies. I started it, but I abandoned it. I learned Python, finished the course on Python, and I did not understand absolutely nothing, And after 2 years, I came back to it by 2022. But this time around with a more structured plan, with an open mind, with a mind to understand that it's okay to fail, but you keep moving. So one practical step is having an open mind. Another practical step is making your research. Go online and research the demand within your locality. In Nigeria currently, advanced data science and machine learning might not be a big thing in many organizations, apart from maybe banks, the likes of Jumia and Konga and the rest of them. But for small and medium enterprises, they will still be most likely in the phase of data analysis. Yesterday, I mentioned the different types of data analytics. So they will most likely be in the descriptive phase. So when you make a research on what is in demand, you now begin to find out, okay, what are the courses I can take to be able to equip me with these skills? You cannot know everything in data analytics. It's not possible. It's not possible. Those who are data experts, like I had a challenge once. I was analyzing a data, and that data was an unstructured data. I talked about it yesterday. It was an unstructured data, and I have not really worked on an unstructured data before, so I was actually very confused. I reached out to my friend and he was like, no, that he's more into quantitative data. He doesn't do unstructured and he doesn't do unstructured data. He's more into statistics, numbers, analysis of numbers, and so he could not help me. But he's a statistician and he works as a data scientist, but he doesn't deal with the kind of data that I wanted to deal with. So again, you cannot know everything. It is to find a particular path you want to go through and then find out what you need to learn. Now, when you make your research, you may still be confused. This is where mentorship comes in. Look for somebody that is ahead of you in the career that has passed through that path before. Ask them questions and they can direct you properly. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Do we have those that want to ask more questions? Please unmute and ask. Eggy.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Leslie, for all the insights that you've been, showing to us this evening.
Eggy, can you amplify your voice a little?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie, for the insights. I'd like you to talk about I think on your slide you had what's it called again? I think the third item.
The
I've
what?
forgotten the third item that was on your slide. Okay, now I remember portfolio. So
Oh, okay.
where can we build portfolios and how? And I would
Okay.
also like you to also emphasize on the importance of building portfolios.
Okay, so see portfolio as you telling an employer that you can do the job. So imagine that you are a photographer and somebody wants to hire your services to cover their wedding. The first thing they will ask you is give me a link to your maybe Instagram page or your Facebook page where you've snapped pictures and did videos. Let me see your work. When the photographer sends you a link, they're sending you your portfolio in very basic and simple terms. So for the data analyst, your portfolio is telling the employer that you can work with data. And one way, one way you can share your portfolio is getting data online. So you can check for Kaggle. If you check Kaggle has 1,001 free data sets. This is Kaggle on my screen, if you can see my screen. So Kaggle, you have different data sets on Kaggle. Different data sets, and people have worked on this data before. So you can pick up one simple one that excites you and work on it, work on the data. When you finish, you upload it to, there are different ways you can host your data project, just like photographers will host their own on Instagram or on Facebook. The most popular one for data analysts is GitHub. That's the most popular one. So GitHub, I don't know if you can take down the name so that GitHub is one way you can host your project on GitHub, and then you attach it to your CV. So where you have your name, and then maybe you have your LinkedIn profile if you're on LinkedIn, and then you can have a URL hyperlinked to your GitHub account. So when an employer clicks on that link, it takes them to show them all the projects you've done on building a dashboard, projects you've done on anything at all. So that's just the idea of building a portfolio. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Michael.
Okay.
Thank you for your insights on data analysis. So my question would be, with the rise of LLMs, how do data analysts still remain relevant?
Okay. That question is very tricky. It's a tricky question, and it's very valid. For those who do not understand what LLM is, LLM means large language models. So I'm trying to think of how to explain it in the most basic way so that everybody is carried along. So think of ChatGPT. What powers ChatGPT is large language models, right? And the real truth is, in the real world today, most organizations will not just hire a data analyst, to be frank. They would want you to have more than data analyst skills. They would also want you to be able to, build models. So data analysts will still be relevant, to be honest, but if you are in a more developed country, you might have to step up your game. You might have to step up your game. I once interviewed for a senior data analyst role. I did not get that job. And one of the feedbacks I got from that job after I interviewed for it was that they asked me a question on how I can manage the acquisition of data. And sadly, I did not answer the question. I answered the question, but I answered it like I was going to be in an organization, in a big organization where there would be a data acquisition team, like the data architect and data engineer, and also a data analysis team. But they needed somebody who could do data engineering, data architecture, and data analysis. And so I missed out on that. But if you are in the Nigerian space, data analysis is still going to be very, very, very relevant, except you are in a more developed country, then you'd have to step up. Don't just stop at being a data analyst. You have to also learn how to build models, and the rest of them. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to just add a little thing, maybe a contribution to say,
okay, please do.
I think in these recent times, data analyst is beyond crunching numbers and data data. Data analyst is also in the way you think and strategize on the way to approach a problem.
True.
So even with the rise of LLMs, the LLM can only do as much as you tell it to do. So to be a successful data analyst, you also have to be a successful strategist to think, what do I really want from this data, which you had covered in the beginning, for you to understand what's your end goal, and then it allows you to also combine LLMs to become a better data analyst and make your work simple. I don't want to just add that. So it's a skill to learn. Data analyst is very skill, still relevant, but I think you should start combining it on how to use other relative tools to become a better data analyst. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's very valid. But for those who are just starting up, please don't be scared. Trust me, it's not as complex as it is. Like he said, more than knowing how to crunch the numbers, it is your ability to think. Yesterday, Samuel asked me a question. He was like, he asked a question about what can you do to reduce the data cleaning process, and I couldn't really give a straightforward answer. That's because every data problem you want to solve has its own unique approach. So the approach you use to solve a problem is different, and it depends on that problem. So thank you very much for that contribution. Do we have any other?
Pastor JCN Dixon. Hello, JCN Dixon. Can you hear me?
Let him unmute and talk.
Okay, please. My audio had problem. I don't know whether it was coming from my end or your end when you were talking about LinkedIn, and I was very much interested, but I didn't get it. So I don't know if you can just answer the question. You were explaining something using the LinkedIn, and I lost the audio. I struggled with it, but I came back when you had passed that area, and I was very interested in that area.
Okay, there's nothing much. I just basically mentioned that LinkedIn is one place that you can connect with people and you can search for jobs. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you are missing out a lot. It doesn't take anything to open an account. Open an account, look at the accounts of people who have gone far in their careers, try to tailor your LinkedIn account. When I started on LinkedIn, my account was very, very chaotic. In fact, I felt intimidated because LinkedIn, you always see people come there to say, oh, I'm happy to announce that I just got a job with Microsoft. Oh, I'm happy to announce that I just got a certification with Google. And then me, I'm asking myself, I'm just starting out. What's up me? How far? When will I get to this level? But looking back, I can see the progress. So that's just the LinkedIn is one place you can stay in Nigeria and connect with professionals anywhere in the world when you're on LinkedIn, and don't be intimidated when you go there because oppression is real. But once you keep your mind focused, you can always succeed. So that was just it.
Prince Wee,
thank you.
Okay,
hello, Prince Wee, there.
Good evening, all. I want to thank the instructor very much But my worry is on how to gather these data, because before we can go forward in our churches to begin to analyze data, we need to also understand how we can gather these data. For example, there's something I tried doing the challenges of our church in terms of offering and tithes. And I wanted to find out what really is the reason for the low turnout, because each time we discuss our church board, the pastor we say the offering and tithe is low, and then you make a requisition for certain things, they will tell you there is no money and all that. So I wanted to look at what actually is a problem. But now the church tithes card and all that problem when you have certain back, that's my concern. I don't know
I'm
if you
sorry,
get me.
I didn't get the last part. I was really struggling to hear you. Can you repeat the last part of your question? Because you were breaking.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is you there's a problem. I noticed that there's always a complaint about phone and all that. So I really wanted to find out what could be the cause. So but assessing the tithe cards and all that and the record books is difficult because of certain policies of the church. I'm asking how do you now solve such problem when you cannot gather the data?
Okay, so thank you for this question. It's very important. So data privacy is as important as anything. I don't know how serious it is in the Nigerian space, but in developed countries, data privacy is important. And to be honest, a church does not have the right to release church records for tithe and offering payments because to an individual who does not have the jurisdiction or access, who's access to that particular data. So if a church wants to analyze, for example, tithe records over the years, this is where ensuring that the Treasury Department, the people who are in the Treasury, have knowledge on the use of data so that they can work on that. So this is where yesterday when I talked about the different job pathways on data analytics, and I said the list is endless. We have financial analysts. Financial analysts, their major job, their work is they analyze finance data. So if you want to have access to the tithe records so that you can, maybe you already have knowledge in data analysis and you want to dive deep into the church records to see what is really making the records poor and what are the factors influencing it and all. Your church might want to consider putting you in the finance department, or depending on the way the church is structured, they can have a robust data team with different sub-departments, so they work as a team together. So that way you have access to the data. But please, for anybody who is not, in quotes, supposed to have access to the data, the church is not supposed to release information of tithe records, to anybody because they want to analyze data. That is a breach of privacy, complete breach of privacy. So that's the way I will answer your question. So your church might want to consider creating a structured data team where the people that handle the tithe records are also part of the team. I don't know who is talking, but I cannot hear you. You are really breaking.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I have a brief question to ask.
Okay, please go on.
Yes. Okay. Yesterday you made mention that data collection depends on the problems to be solved. Now, there is this challenge we've been facing in my church recently. The membership is declining, and some members, they don't stay to the point of dismissal. You see, for instance, if we have 10 members from Sabbath school towards the divine service, before the end of the divine service, you see that more than 5 persons will leave, leaving the church empty. And when you want to say, let's do video coverage or live streaming, you will not be encouraged to do so because of the emptiness of the church. So how can we address such issues? Secondly, if, for instance, we have a Amor Unique Day celebration, you find out that before at the end of the program, you see some members, those who are also prominent in the church, who will leave, and the church will be also empty before the end of the program. How can such issues be addressed?
Okay. So, okay. So, I don't know how exactly to answer this question, but I'll try to answer it in the best way I can. When you want to, we are talking about data analytics. So when you want to use data to solve a problem, it does not necessarily mean that it has to be ambiguous. It can start from something as simple as speaking to maybe having a section in the church, maybe a church and business session to really discuss and find out what the problem is or what might be making people leave the church. Depending on the exposure of the church members to technology, you can draft an anonymous questionnaire and send it to church members. If you have a WhatsApp group in church, you draft a questionnaire, send it to church members, ask them, the church has noticed that church members do not stay till the end. Do you usually stay till the end? Yes or no? They tick. Maybe the next question, what do you think might be making people who leave the church? Queen, can you please mute yourself? So depending on the exposure of the church members, not every church congregation has access to robust technology. But if it's a church that already, like, people use WhatsApp, people can fill Google Forms and all, you can do something as simple as a questionnaire just to start off. Find out. They will fill the questionnaire. You go through it and you might make it anonymous so that nobody has the obligation of filling in their names or anything. You could get insights from that information as to maybe the worship is too long, people are tired and they leave halfway, or maybe there's not enough music in the church, it's talking announcement. You could get insights from that, and by the time they fill the questionnaire, it can help you. But if it's a church that is not, the membership they don't have access to technology and all, it would be maybe a church in business session, speaking to them. As you interact, that is you collecting data. As simple as that is, as you interact, somebody says, I don't like the fact that this one happens. The church clerk, you note it down. That is you gathering data, and then you discuss about it and find out how to improve. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's the best way I thought of.
All right. It's okay. Thank you.
All right. Welcome. The moderator, please, is in your hands, because I'm done with my section. So if you are going to allow more questions, please let us know so that we can take more.
Okay, Charles, let's hear from you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Quickly, I do not know, is it mandatory that after analyzing a situation, like data analyst, like the name implies, then I have to also solve the problem? Or my job ends with recommendation? That is one. Two, quickly, I will plead that I just needed a clarification on, there was something, a platform you made mention of before you mentioned, I think GitHub or something. Can you please just get back to that again, please?
Is it Kaggle?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, Kaggle. Kaggle is where you can see 1,000,001 data projects. Think about any data project at all, in any aspect of data. Once you go to Kaggle, you will see it. So you can pick. Sorry?
Can you spell, please?
Kaggle, Kaggle.
Okay.
This is it. It's on my screen. Yeah, so Kaggle.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And then your other question, do you have to solve a problem, like every problem as a data analyst, or your job ends in recommendation? Again, it depends on what you are trying to solve. For example, in a church setting, you cannot solve the problem. You only give recommendations. It's left for the church board to now decide on if they are going to move with your recommendations or not. In an office setting or in the setting of an organization, of course, you cannot solve the problem too. It is left for your boss, the manager, the stakeholders to look into your recommendation and then make your decisions. That is why in a real life setting for a data analyst or a data scientist, when you are presenting to the board, they will ask you a lot of questions. What does this statistic say? They don't know the technical jargon you did, but they are seeing the graph, they are seeing the figures. Okay, sales increased in December. What are the factors that influence sales in December? You tell them, okay, Christmas period, a lot of people bought rice, a lot of people bought this, a lot of people bought that. So next Christmas, we can forecast that we can forecast and prepare to have double of the sales. How can we have double of the sales? They begin to ask you, you look at your data, you analyze it, you give them the report, it goes back and forth. You're not solving the problem. You're only directing them to make sure that the decisions that the management is making are informed decisions and not just based on intuition and gut feeling, if I would say that. So yes, I think it depends. Now for yesterday, I talked about descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive and prescriptive analytics. So if you have developed yourself to the point of predictive and prescriptive, then your job would entail also recommending solutions and solving a problem. If you've gotten to the point of predictive and prescriptive, where you build a model to forecast into the future. Like an example I gave yesterday. One of my lecturers, when he taught the machine learning course we had, he said that e-commerce companies, they have so much imbibed the use of data and technology that they know when a customer is going to order a particular item at a particular time, because they have studied the pattern of that customer over the years. That customer, for example, uses Amazon. They've studied the pattern of that customer and they know that by January, that customer will most likely order that. Sometimes they ship those products to the location of that customer, leave it in the warehouse, and almost often than not, the customer orders for that item and then they get it. So this is what data and technology can do. So it just depends, again, on how far you've gone, your job roles, your job description, and what you're expected to do. I hope I answered your question.
Very well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Moderator, do we still have more time?
I think that this is where we'll call it a wrap because of time. It's already 9:56. And I just maybe last words before we will finalize and pray tonight.
From me?
Yes, from you.
Okay. All right. So just my last words is don't give up. Be a better version of yourself. Don't give up. Let me speak it in Nigerian pidgin. Now who snooze, nine will lose. As in, you have to take, I don't know how to explain this thing. Take possession of your life. Take possession of your career. I tell people that I mentor and people that I discuss with in the Nigerian space, I said, people are crying that there is no job. But I don't think the problem is the unavailability of job. I just feel that most people are not equipped enough with the skills that is needed for these organizations to hire you. I know of someone who already has 3 jobs or 2 jobs as a student, currently as a student, and he already has 2 to 3 jobs, he's working. He's even the one now that is running away from work. Why? He was very strategic. He networked with people. He got a mentor, and he continued to improve himself. So you're thinking of getting into this data space, my dear, by all means, get into it, because you're going to be an asset to your organization. Anyhow it is, you're going to be an asset to your organization. So just keep a positive mind. Understand that it's okay to fail. Failure is part of growth. You fail and you succeed. I have failed several times, but here I am. So I just want to encourage you, motivate you to start from somewhere. As much as I can, if you reach out to me, I would be able to give my 1 or 2 advice on when you're confused and how you can navigate the data space. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the section. Please, there's a feedback form I dropped yesterday. Temple, I don't know if you can help me drop the link. Please do well to help me fill that feedback form. It's important for my own career growth. Please, I need everyone to try and fill the feedback form. Temple, if you can drop it in the chat box so that people can click the link, and it won't take you more than 2 minutes to fill. Just give me a feedback on how the presentation went, and if you learned something, and areas that I can improve on for future and subsequent sections. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to get the form so that I can drop it so that before we leave the chat, the call this evening, we can. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah, I've copied it. I will drop it now so that every one of us that are here, we can just go to the chat box and get the feedback. Let's have a feedback on this. It will be very interesting to get to hear what you think. Okay, I think I've dropped it, right? Yeah, this is it. So just click on the link and just follow the prompt and fill it so that she can get our feedback. Thank you so much, Leslie, for a beautiful turnout. This is data analysis made easy. Like I said yesterday, in fact, it's becoming very real. Even those who are scared of Excel, scared of calculations, I'm sure that we can attest that it's been a wonderful time. You've made it so easy that everybody is carried along. And for those who want to go deeper, I'm sure that we're going to have more time. We're going to, in fact, from yesterday, we have been working. The committee, we have been looking at what can be done to work with, to have you also continue, life at the program, because I haven't gone this far. We'll see that, okay, even we're going to have one instructor on ground, we'll discuss with you on that, how to ensure that we can have a special class. Yes, even if it's going to be virtual, let's have it still covered. Like this, one of the days you can still talk to us live from your base. That will be very interesting. And for every one of you that have joined the call, thank you so much. It's difficult to really get to see data analysis class and you get to see some persons, stick on. They're just there. They never run. So I'm happy that we are all here and there are many more to come. If not, I guess if not for the change of the link, because we earlier sent another one and then later we had to change, I'm sure we'd have had more. But all the same, thank you all for joining us in a very busy calendar of the church in Eastern Nigerian Union Conference. We are different evangelism, end time lectures. A lot of persons are occupied with a lot of stuff. But we'll say at this number, I'm very impressed. It shows that we are desirous of changing the narrative. So tomorrow, classes continues. We're going to talk about photography and cinematography. We're going to be having class in the afternoon and in the evening so that we can meet up our time. Before we end up, let's see, we'll come again and that's general class now and see, talk to us, give us 1 or 2 tips in other areas, just like other lecturers who have taught us. So thank you and have a lovely night rest. If you have any question, let's see is live with us on the platform, the delegate platform. If you're not on that delegate platform, please do well to be there because some of our instructors are there. And that's the only way you can interact with them. Okay, so when you ask me if their number, without their consent, I can't give out number. But if you can ask live on that platform, they will just be there to answer you, and you can connect with them easily. So please, if you're not on the delegate platform, ask that you be added to that platform so that you can interact freely with everyone. If you have not been receiving our mails, also drop your mail on the platform so that we can also, intimate you. By God's grace, we're going to organize a professional and well standardized, convention this year. And I tell you, we're not leaving any stone unturned to ensure that we get the best. Let's say I've really taken our time, our energy, our resources just to prepare for us. That tells you how deep this can be, and we really appreciate everyone. Let's say thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, and we pray that God immensely will bless you. And to every one of you on the call, thank you so much, and God bless you. Let's pray with our brother. Okay, let's see if we have our pastor here. Okay. Okay, Pastor Samson, if you can hear me, you can unmute and pray for us. Pastor Samson, can you hear me? Pastor Trust, can you hear me? Okay, Pastor Trust, please pray for us. Hello, Pastor Trust, are you praying? I can't hear you. Okay, Pastor, okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. I think Pastor Trust is having some network challenge. Pastor Akpan, if your net.
Dearest Father in heaven, thank you for
Right, let's pray. Almighty Father in heaven, we thank you for having led us through this wonderful lecture tonight, led by your daughter, Leslie Elekwa, and to every other person whom you have used to make this evening's lecture successful. Lord, we appreciate you. We pray that may you strengthen our facilitators. And Lord, as we continue to learn these skills, we pray may we put them in practice so that your work in our different locations, different conferences, districts, and churches will move forward and advance your work in our territories. And also it will make your return to be sooner as we expect. Tonight, Lord, we pray as we all go back to our sleeping bed, that may your angels keep watch over us and bless our night. Thank you, Heavenly Father. When the morning breaks, we also pray that you wake us from our sleeping beds. Thank you for hearing and answering our prayers, we ask in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Good night and God bless you. Please not leave without signing in. Okay, you can go to the delegate platform and also fill in that feedback form. God bless you. Good night.